Guys, welcome back to another review. So today I'm going to be reviewing my STIHL km131r Kombi system. So this is a 2016 model that I bought second hand on eBay, and I paid £265 for it. And it's a pretty good nick actually, and it runs beautifully, especially after I've serviced it. I've serviced it, I've done the valves on it, done a valve adjustment, and I've replaced the valve cap and the valve gasket on it so far, as well as air filter, spark plug and fuel filter, and it runs really nicely now. So bargain price for this engine. As you can see, it's got wear on it, but it's, you know, for other ones out there, it was a good condition for the price. Definitely good condition for the price. So I bought this sort of spare of the moment kind of thing. I kind of found it and was like, oh, that's a good price. And I've always wanted the bigger 4-stroke engines, because I used to use my km131r Kombi engine on the hedge cutter, and it was good actually. It was really good, but for the sort of jobs I'm doing now, it helps have a little bit extra power. But also I bought the chainsaw attachment for the Kombi system, and when I used it on the 94 really struggles on the chainsaw, especially if you put the 1 meter carbon fibre extension. So I needed an engine really that I knew could handle the chainsaw. So, you know, when this popped up, it was kind of like, oh, you know, sort of bargain. So I went for it, and I bought it kind of as a project, a little project. So what I've done to it so far is a little bit of engine work, so the valves and a service, because the engine was actually fine. But what I'm doing to it now is just cosmetics, just trying to get it looking like the rest of my STIHL fleet, which is in really good nick, because I hardly ever use it really. So bringing it up to sort of high cosmetic standards, because I'm a bit fussy that way, you know. I love my STIHL gear, so I love them looking good, you know. Personally, I think if you're using a battered out piece of equipment, it doesn't look too professional really. Kind of looks like you abuse it, to me anyway. If I see a gardener using really clapped out tools, you know, kind of doesn't really show that he takes care of his tools very well. Kind of makes me think, well, if you don't care about your tools, you know, do you actually care about your job? Type kind of thing, you know. It might just be me, I'm just a ridiculously crazy guy when it comes to tools. I love the tools. They're, you know, part of the reason why I do this job, because there's so many cool bits of kit to use. But anyway, yeah, so I've done the cover here, the shroud, and the valve cover as well. They're brand new. The nameplate is brand new, even though it looks quite dirty. That is brand new. I've also done the handle here, so it's had a brand new handle and throttle and stop switch, and a brand new D handle as well here. So when I got it, it had a rubber one of these, but it was sort of worn and it didn't have the bar here, bumper bar at all. So, and obviously as I wanted to use it with the chainsaw, it wasn't really that safe to not have the bar on it. So I bought a brand new one of those as well. So there's still a couple of bits I need to do to it. I want to do a new fuel tank, because that's quite worn, especially around by the cap here. New starter cover here as well, possibly a new starter, but it's fine. So probably hopefully just the cover. The plastic frame here, undercarriage, I want to do as well, and this clutch housing as well. I want to do that, and obviously the air filter housing as well. I need to do that, and the coupling, I think I'll do that as well. But other than that, it's perfect really. So let me just run you through the features of it. So it's actually quite difficult to start, but it is a 4 mix. So, well, it's a 2-stroke, but it runs on a 50-to-1 oil and petrol mix, but it is a 4 mix engine, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure how it works exactly, but all I know is that they're a lot more powerful than the petrol ones, and the normal 2-stroke ones, a lot more powerful. And they have a much deeper rumble to them, which is I prefer that sound, a deeper rumble, much more than you know, screaming away 2-stroke engine any day of the week. So it might be electro start, I'm not sure, but it's, you know, it's not too bad to start really. It does take a bit of muscle, but it's, you know, it's a big engine, you know, so what do you expect really? It's going to take a bit of power to get it going, to turn it over. So fuel tank is a decent size. I have to admit, for this engine, it's not the biggest fuel tank in the world, and it does drink quite a bit of fuel, I have to admit. How much have we got in there now? Can't actually see. I think we've got about a quarter of a tank, I think. So I used this a couple of days ago, and crikey, yeah, so it's used a lot of fuel. So it does drink a lot of fuel. I put a full tank of fuel in this, and I used it for probably about 2 hours, maybe straight, 2 hours straight throughout the day, and it's drank pretty much the whole entire fuel tank worth. So it's thirsty, but it's, you know, it's got so much power, it's kind of to be expected. Yeah. So it's got a decent sized fuel tank on there, and I've mentioned several times now, but with the quick fill nozzle on the STIHL petrol cans, it's really nice here. That's all. It really isn't. It would take you literally like 30 seconds to fill it up, so it's not a huge deal at all really. And this is the most top of the range professional grade Kombi engine you can get from STIHL. So it's got all the bells and whistles. It's got sorry if the camera's a bit shaky, but it's got an auto return choke. So auto return when you flip the throttle. Primer bulb is up here. Ooh, where is it? There. Throttle. Nice and easy to use, nice and comfortable as well. It's rubber gripped handle as well, so super nice and comfortable to use. Stop switch. Auto return stop switch. Harness mount. There was the black cover that you might have seen on the black handle, sorry, on the 94, but I cut that off of here because I found that when I picked it up, it would just, because the engine's so top heavy, it would just sort of spin, so a bit sort of rubbish, to be honest with you. So I took it off. It's much better now. Now, unlike the 94, this has a rubber gripped handle actually, so it's actually a lot more comfortable to use. D-bar obviously standard. So yeah, it's not a huge lot else to talk about really. Servicing, we'll talk about servicing last time on that. It's just 2 screws here, take that off, new air filter, put it back on, super easy to get to. Valve is just 1 screw on top, if I can find it, there we go. 1 screw on top. So just take that screw off and the cover, and then you can get to the valve cover. Take the valve cover off and get to the 2 valves and the spark plug and the fuel tank. So another fairly easy engine to service. The only difference between this service-wise and a 4-stroke, 2-stroke that I'm aware of, is you do have to adjust the valves, but really not that much of a big deal. It's, you know, I've got all you need is the right valve gauge for your engine, and it's so easy. If you need to adjust the valves, look it up on YouTube. It's really, really easy. So yeah, the engine is sort of anti-vibration system, so the vibrations aren't that bad on it at all really. I'll read out some of the specs for you guys. So if you wanted to purchase this engine, the 131r, it is on FR Jones & Son at £420, including VAT. But from STIHL themselves, we went to a STIHL dealer, this engine, just the engine, would cost you £600. So it's really not cheap at all. It's, you know, £600 for one engine is a lot of money, but it's worth every single penny. It really is. It's the amount of power this engine has is ridiculous. So the power it has got is 1.4 kilowatts engine output, or the displacement 36.3 cc. So it really isn't a small engine. For a Kombi engine, you know, that's a lot of power. That's a big engine compared to the 24 the 94 has. You know, 24 to 36. There's a massive difference. It really has got a lot of kick to it and a lot of torque. When you've got it running and you rev it, you know, it really flips. It's got an insane amount of power. You know, once you've got this engine, really, there's nothing too big for this engine that this engine can't tackle. You can take on any size job and it will do it. It's that powerful. It's crazy. So 2-year domestic warranty on it. And it weighs 4.4 kilograms, so it weighs the exact same as the BG86, but obviously it's a lot more sort of back heavy than front heavy because the engine's on the back, obviously. But yeah, brilliant, absolute brilliant bit of kit. I would recommend that to anyone any day of the week. Definitely, if you're doing garden maintenance, get yourself one of these as soon as you can. And there's nothing there's no job, you know, that would involve a Kombi system that you would have to turn down unless you haven't got ladders. But even if you haven't got ladders, because it's a Kombi system, you can get the 1 metre carbon fibre extension and do it with that, you know, and it gives you a lot of reach. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant bit of kit, and I'm so pleased I got it. It's, you know, I've only used it 6 or 7 times, and it's really paid for itself through use. You know, using it is just so nice to use, and the sound as well, because it's a much deeper rumble. It's so much more nicer to use, if that makes sense. It's not like a 2-strokes that's, you know, screaming away at you. It's got a really nice deep rumble, which I'll show you guys in a minute what it sounds like. But I absolutely love it, and I've wanted one of these bigger Kombi engines for years, and now I've got it. It's worth every penny. It really is. It's crazy. It's a brilliant bit of kit. So what I mainly use it on now is the what is it? hl-km145. I'll show you guys that now. So this is a 145-degree hedge trimmer. So deep and chilled. This is one of their newer ones. So I think this is a 2019 model. I think it's about 2 years old. The hedge trimmer attachment. This is the 50cm blades, but they've now released a new one of these, which has actually got 60cm blades. And I've got on the end here, which you guys can't really see. So to unfold it, all you do is you pull this black bit back, and then just unfold it. It is super easy to do, but I haven't really got the room to show you in the couch. Super easy. So that's it fully extended. So it is quite long. I think is there a better way I can move the camera? Yeah, that's better. So as you can see, I've got a tip protector on the end. So that will stop the blades hitting the floor. So it's if you're working along doing ground cover, putting ground cover up, for example, you can just run that along the floor and it will stop the blades hitting and bouncing back at you. So that's quite good. It's a good looking hedge trimmer as well, actually, I'm not going to lie. It does look quite impressive. It's not one of these ugly, you know, silver ones like the old STIHL hedge trimmer attachments used to be. They're just all silver. You know, this got some colour to it as well. Nice bit of orange underneath, so it sort of stands out and looks quite good. Adjustment, you can adjust it by pulling it back and then shaking the engine, and that will, you know, you can adjust it like that if you have to, but so if you haven't got your hands free, there's a lot of positions you can put it in. So yeah, really good bit of kit. This is really good. And when you put this on, if you use this with the 131, for example, it will go through anything. There isn't a hedge you can't trim. It's an absolute beast of a setup. This is. I've used other hedge trimmers in the past, and this is the best hedge trimmer setup I've ever used in my life. And I know all the pros, you know, they use this 131 with this hedge trimmer because it's just so versatile, you know, with the adjustment, you can trim so many different shaped edges and, you know, different bits and pieces. The biggest benefit is you can do a lot of it from the floor. So a lot of tall shrubs, you haven't got to get on ladders and bother with ladders. So the risk to your health is a lot lower using this. Well, so that's another benefit of it. Grease points. There is one here for the adjustment mechanism. That hardly ever takes any grease really. I've put filled it up full of grease and it hardly uses any grease. The most amount of grease it uses is this one here, which is for the blades, which are obviously going backwards and forwards, so that uses more grease than the adjustment does. But that's like a 2-minute job to grease it. It's super easy, super easy to do. So yeah, I'll bring up the specs for it quickly for you guys. So the weight of the hedge trimmer attachment, just the hedge trimmer attachment, is 2.3 kilograms with a 2-year warranty on it, and a tooth gap of 34 mil. So it's got a decent size tooth gap on it. And the price on FY Jones & Son for this hedge trimmer, just the hedge trimmer, not the engine, is £251. So £250 basically for this hedge trimmer, which is a lot of money for a hedge trimmer. It's not going to lie, none of the gear I have is cheap. It's not, you know, you can go to B&Q if you want and get the whole setup I have probably for £1,000, maybe, probably less than that actually. Similar power as well to it all, but if you're lucky it will last. The B&Q stuff will probably last for a year, if that. You know, I've had some of these bits of gear for 3 years now, and they're still going, and they still go first pull every time, and they haven't, none of my tools, steel tools, have been in a garage to be fixed ever. So they're the most reliable tool brand I've found on the planet at the moment. So yeah, so if you're looking at getting a long reach hedge trimmer, definitely the hl-km145 with the 131 engine, I would definitely recommend it. However, it is going to cost you about, for the hedge trimmer and a brand new Kombi engine, well, a brand new Kombi engine from STIHL themselves. If you went to a STIHL dealer and bought this setup, you would be looking at about 600 for the engine from a dealer, and probably around 300, 350 for the hedge trimmer. So you're looking at, for this engine and just the hedge trimmer alone, nearly £1,000. So it's a lot of money, but it's worth every single penny you spend on it. It really is. It's I found it to be the best hedge trimmer on the planet you can get, really. So I'm a huge STIHL fan, and in my business they've really proved their worth. They really have. They've never ever let me down. They're brilliant bits of kit. So if you're thinking about getting it, again, I'd just go and do it. It's going to cost you a lot up front, but the fees down the road, service fees, you know, repair fees, if you look after it and service it properly once a year, grease the hedge trimmer, sharpen the hedge trimmer, you know, clean it, keep it presentable, you're probably going to be looking at about £0 a year repairs, and about, I think it's 20 quid for a service kit for the 131. So for a whole year, this unit should only cost you about 20 quid to service it. So it's, you know, there's a lot of money up front, but you haven't got to spend anything, you haven't got to spend much down the line, and it will last you, as long as you take care of it, 5, 6, 7 years plus, hopefully. So another absolutely brilliant bit of kit that I would recommend to anyone even if you're a homeowner, if you've got a lot of hedges to trim, I definitely recommend this. It's a little bit overkill for homeowners, but I would recommend it. It really is worth the money, especially if you were to get it on FR Jones or something, because you can save yourself a couple £100 doing it that way, and it's all brand new. All of it's brand new, just like you would get from a STIHL dealer, just cheaper. So it's a bit of a bargain. So what I'll do now is I will show you guys how it runs, really, show you guys what it sounds like, because it's a really nice sounding engine. So this is cold engine, so we're going to prime it a couple of times, and it should, assuming I have the strength to pull it, because I'm not the strongest person alive, and they're not the easiest to start, but it should go if you squeeze the trigger. First pour, or coupled, might need to choke it. So that was no choke whatsoever. Didn't have to choke it at all. That's on run. And I went fourth pull. So you don't even really need to choke this. I have found that when I come to use it, most of the time when it's slightly warmer outside temperature, it will go from cold without the choke after you've primed it about 10 times. First pull. So it's incredibly reliable to start. It's not the quietest engine. It's loud, but it's got that deeper rumble. So I find the noise isn't an issue at all. So concluding thoughts, I'd highly recommend it. It's not cheap, but it's worth every penny.